I want to tell you how I got here tonight. And it's not going to be about how I got here. I mean, I took 90-94, and then there was traffic, and I was trying to eat a Cliff Bar and brush my teeth simultaneously, because I was in Michigan earlier, and weaving around. That would be the end of that story, so I'm going to go a little bit further back. I'm sitting, just staring through the windshield. I know where I'm going, but I'm not really sure where I'm going to end up. I'm just staring, watching the highway unroll in front of me through central Pennsylvania. I look over, driving the car is Monte. Monte had come by earlier when our team bus had pulled into the parking lot at school. As I was scrambling to get my equipment together, he'd give me a shot in the arm and said, "You want to go home, Whitey?" And Monte and I were from really different worlds. He was a junior. I was a freshman of a few weeks. He was a fierce linebacker, known for his punishing hits. I was known for drinking Gatorade and standing on the coach's headphone cord. He was pretty cool. I was not cool. But we did know from the brief time we had talked that we were both from the Pittsburgh area, and when he asked me that night if I wanted to go home, I couldn't pass it up. I had been at school for a few weeks, and I hadn't been back since my parents dropped me off, and I really needed to get back. It wouldn't be long. We would be there for less than 24 hours. It'd be like a 6-hour round trip to do that. It wasn't enough, but it was something. So as we're driving in the car, I was content for the first half of the ride just to say nothing and look out the window and think. But on the second half of the ride, I said everything. Everything that I had been keeping inside suddenly spilled out all over Monte's front seat of his Buick. I told him I didn't really make many friends at school because I had spent most nights on the payphone at the end of the hall. I told him that I didn't really want to play football anymore. It just, at this point, seemed kind of like a stupid game. I told him about my girlfriend Sarah, my high school girlfriend, who was now nearly 9 months pregnant and waiting for me at the end of this road trip. I told him I had never felt so alone in my entire life. I told him he was now only one of 3 people who even knew any of this was going on. Monte didn't interrupt me, and he didn't say much. He just reached over once in a while to unveil another wad of Wendy's napkins in the glove box of his car. And after a couple hours, we were in the Chi-Chi's parking lot in Monroeville. He shook my hand and said, "Keep your head up, Whitey." I saw Sarah on the other side of the parking lot sliding out of her dad's green Explorer, and I started to sprint towards her, and she started to waddle towards me. Well, I stopped just in time, came to my senses, so we could share a gentle A-frame hug. She had been so good at hiding her pregnancy early on, but there was no disguising it now. She was huge. "Did you swallow a beach ball?" I said. She replied, "How do you feel about your scrotum?" We went back to Sarah's mom's house, and it was nice to hang out. We had so much to talk about. There was the matter of if we were still going to do this. The parents. Sarah had spoken to them, and they were good, decent people who just wanted the baby that they couldn't have on their own. She said they were religious, but not too religious. She said they were nice, but not too nice. Then there was the matter of the name. Were we going to stick with our earlier choice, or were we still open for options? Once again, my suggestions were completely turned down. It seemed that it would still be a while before the world would welcome a Darth Zamboni Rex. It was nice to feel connected again, to feel like a part of all this. But to be fair, it wasn't just school that had kept me away. Earlier that summer, we would spend each afternoon in serious discussion over pros and cons. Before I would leave around dinner time, I'd leave her crying on the porch. I was annoyed by her reaction. I mean, I was putting in a fair amount of time. I mean, why couldn't I make mature adult decisions and go drink malt liquor in the parking lot of McDonald's? What I didn't know then was that I had had other, more important duties that I had not addressed. I'd never been there to hold her hand under the blanket and squeeze it when a Pampers commercial came on during Jeopardy! I hadn't been there to play Mortal Kombat into the night, forcing her to dodge roundhouse kicks instead of her little sister's probing questions. My freedom had only served to increase her captivity. I didn't get it till finally one night in August, a tiny kick through a stretched out t-shirt let me know that this wasn't a part-time situation. See, Sarah had said, she does that all the time. Even when you're not here. See? I did. It was getting late that night, and Sarah wasn't feeling well. She promised me it was only because she'd eaten an extra large meat lover's pizza all by herself earlier in the evening. So I gave her a kiss on her bacon-greased lips and whispered the beginning of a bedtime story into her belly button before promising her that I would meet her for breakfast before Monte and I made the ride up to school the next day. However, that morning, the following morning, I awoke to the ring of the cordless phone that I had stuffed under my pillow before I went to sleep. And before I could even fully wake up, all I heard on the other end was her mom give me a floor and room number. As I rushed into the hospital room, I saw Sarah laying there, exhausted, beautiful. When she saw me, she leaned down to the little wrinkled head on her chest and said, "Uh-oh, Rachel, somebody's here who's really been wanting to meet you." Now it's been a long time since this happened. It's been 19 years. A lot's changed. I've gotten older, slower, rounder, married, divorced. And I know things have changed for her. School, driving, probably college, and depending where you're at with nature versus nurture, probably struggling at college. A lot's changed. But some things haven't. Like, sometimes when I pick up a bundle of laundry off the floor, and it's just the right size, and shape, and weight. Or coming home late after having a few beers out, the squeak of the door making the same sound that she made when Sarah said, "Is she trying to talk to us already?" I don't dwell on these things because I'm punishing myself. When these things happen, it's an opportunity to remember. And it's important that I remember. Because I'm not just remembering for me, I'm remembering for two of us. Because if I ever get to meet her again, I'm going to share these things with her too.